Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be doing some tutorials on item sorters and storage systems and how they work together, because it's a little more complicated than just doing a linear item sorter like this one to create a giant storage system, because you might want to go around corners like this. You might want to see if I can see it from here. Well, you can't, but you might want to go up and down different levels like I have here. So I'm going to split this video into 3 parts. I'll put the timestamps into the description because some of you won't be interested in all 3 parts. So first we're going to talk about how to actually make the standardized item sorter like we have here, and you can extend that linearly as far as you want. Then I'm going to talk about minecarts and using those to change heights and move items around more so you can get more complex systems. And finally, I'll walk through this build I made here because it's kind of cool. Unlike some of the other things I've done, I'm not going to rebuild it here because that will take a while. I will probably build this into my Let's Play series though, so check that out there. Haven't done it yet, but I'm sure I'll get around to it. But yeah, so let's start off here with the actual item sorter. So the way this works here, I'm sorting these items, so I'm going to select them. Oh, I already have some of these. I don't have this guy, and I don't have this guy. And so what happens is if I put, like, let's say, well, let's check. Right now we've got 39 hoppers, so let's empty these. There's nothing in there. And so if I put these all in here, put some hoppers, put some stairs, and put some blocks, and I might as well put a chest as well. Those were all filtered down properly into these chests here. As you can see, they are doing, and the chest will go into this chest along with the sandstone. So basically the way this works, if I do a time set day real fast, is that the items flow along the top here. They flow down into these hoppers, which have the items already stored in them to do the sorting, and then they flow through here. And the way I have this set up is I have an array of chests like this. So you can get multiple chests, but you don't actually need any of this bottom part. That's just for more storage. Just this top part with the item frames on it is required for the sorting. So these are all going through, and the chest is probably over here by now. Yep, perfect. So we're going to build this real quick, and this is just the logic right behind here of how it works, and I'm going to explain it as we go through it. I'll probably dig into the ground a bit while we do this as well. But just starting up here, let's say we want our chest to be around this height, down here, right around down there. So we're going to place an array of hoppers. So we're going to need 3. We're actually 3 chests, let's say. So we're going to have 3 hoppers, but we're going to have 5 in total because we need 1 to enter the system and 1 to leave the system. You don't actually need this. You could just put the chest right here. In fact, I'm going to do that. So you actually only need 1 more than you have here. And you probably don't actually need this one either, but I like having it stick out the sides a bit. That way it doesn't interfere with the design that you choose to build with when you make this. So let's place our chest right here, and let's have it face forward. So what we're going to do with these top rows is we're going to face them into each other towards this chest. So I can put one here, and I'm going to put a final one there. And so when we put an item in here, it's going to make its way into the chest. Perfect. So the next set of hoppers is going to be directly below these and face into these blocks. So if an item ends up in here, it's going to just stay in this hopper. But the way hoppers work, while they are pointing to this direction, if they can travel down, they will do so over traveling sideways. So if I put this sandstone in here, it's going to travel to this hopper and then travel down immediately to this one. So that's why you have your system here where you filter it out, so then the sandstone can't go into this hopper, and it will end up going into this one. And when all of these are filtered, it will go into the chest. The third row of hoppers also points the same direction. So let's put more blocks here. And these will end up being chests. And in the Minecraft 1.13, you can shift click and they won't connect, so I can get 3 separate sets of chests here. And actually, I'm going to end up doing these this direction. And if I click onto the chest, it will form a double, whereas if I click on this side, it won't. So I'm going to make these double chests. Perfect. And we will probably want these to be stairs. So let me grab a stair real quick so that we can open the chest. Perfect. Okay, now what we need to do is actually filter this system. So what we want to do is we want to have a comparator on these filter hoppers, because this middle row is where the filtering actually occurs. So if I go over here, excuse me, my bad, and I get comparators. So what's going to happen is once items are in here, they're going to light up, and they're going to power 1 set of redstone. And what I'm going to do is have to power 2 redstones to light up, because right now if I put a single item in here, it'll light up, and then it doesn't stay because I have hoppers below it. But we need, I believe it's 23 items to light up the second level here. And what we can do is, I'm actually going to break these real quick, is we can put these repeaters here and put them like so. So when these redstones here get powered, they will power the repeaters below. So let's just assume for a second that this is powered somehow. The repeaters, as you can see, turn on. And because each one of these can only power up to 2 redstone dust away, it won't be able to power a repeater next to it, because that would require going a strength signal of 3 to get to this block from here. And we're going to put up one more high here, and we need to put torches. And these are what lock the system. So these torches will lock these hoppers so that they can't accept items from these hoppers, and that's how we prevent all of the items in here from traveling all the way down. So for instance, if we put hoppers in here, I can put them across, it's locked so it can't fall down, and then some of them will flow until we reach 18, I believe. Yes, perfect. And now the signal is not strong enough, so it does not turn off the torch. But when you have more hoppers in there, the signal is strong enough to turn off the torch. And we're going to see in a moment here that it turns back on, and all the hoppers end up in here. So you can continue along here, and you can take your blocks, and you can do the same. And you can take our, well, let's do jack-o'-lanterns this time. And of course, if you want, you can put item frames on the chest to make it more obvious what they are. And the remaining items, let's say we put in a hopper. The hoppers will go in here, exactly like so. But if I put, like, say, a redstone torch, it'll end up down here, because it can't flow down into any of these hoppers down here because they're already filled. And these won't ever fill up. One problem you could have is if this chest fills all the way up, you could get backlog where the hopper above it will fill all the way up, and then this one could start filling all the way up. And if you start getting like multiple in this spot, this one might empty eventually, and then you could have some problems. But that's all by just continually adding more hoppers and chests below this, kind of like I've done here. And then, so you can just continue this linearly on forever and ever. But if you want to like go upwards or turn corners, this is not quite ideal. So what I'm going to use is these minecarts over here to transfer items. I have a bunch set up here so I can talk to you about the differences and the benefits between using different types of minecarts, different types of loaders and unloaders. But first, right here, we've got a simple unloader. So basically what happens is when the minecart's over this hopper, it'll put items into the hopper. And when there are items in the hopper, this comparator turns on, which turns off this torch, which turns off the redstone, which turns off the powered rail. So if I go in here and I put in, say, half stack of pistons, it should stop when it's here, but I clearly did something wrong, so let me fix that real quick. Alright, I figured out the problem. Something I had overlooked was hoppers, when they are pointing straight down into other hoppers, remove items from themselves so fast that it wasn't allowing this to update. But so now if I take, say, a few torches, it'll stop for a moment while it unloads them, and then it will keep going again. So it's a pretty nice system. I can put like a few more things in there, maybe half stack of something, and as you can see, it's all draining out while it's stopped there. Perfect. So that's exactly as we want to do, and that's the unloader I use in basically every scenario. It works great. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but whenever this hopper is, taking items from the minecart hopper, it just unpowers the system, and you get stuck there until you're all unloaded. And if there's nowhere to unload to, then the minecart just sits there, and there's no real reason to send it back because it's full up already. So what we're going to talk about mostly is the loading system here, because the unloaders work about the same every time. So the first loading system I'm going to look at is with this setup right here. You have a chest on top, as well as a comparator. The comparator, when it outputs a single signal of 1, will turn this redstone dust on and unlight this torch, which will in turn turn off this dust and make this be unpowered. So if I break this quickly and I put in a single item anywhere, as you can see, this unpowers, which means that when a minecart goes there, it will stop. So we can put in, say, a stack of dirt and see what happens. As you can see, it fills up the minecart very, very quickly, which is great. It doesn't quite unload as fast, Oh, I put 2 on. Whoops. It does not unload as fast as it loads, but the minecart hopper will fill up very quickly. So you can see it's just tearing through this chest. And when it goes over here, it will unload it slowly. Now let's check out this system. This is the same thing, but we're using a chest minecart, which has its advantages and disadvantages. This holds 27 stacks of items, whereas this only holds 5. And of course, this can't pick up items off the ground or items above it. But this won't actually work right here, because a chest can't pick up items from a chest. Kind of makes sense. So you're just going to get stuck here and not be able to unload any of the items here, and you'll be stuck forever. So this one does not work. Now let's do the same thing, same exact unloader, but with hoppers. This is going to be basically exactly the same. You can see it unloads super fast again, and then it's just going to go over there and unload it. This will work because hopper can fill up a chest minecart, but as you can see, it's a lot slower. So that is one main reason to use a hopper minecart, is it can fill up a lot faster than these chest ones, but the chest ones can hold a lot more space, and they unload at the same speed. So I'm going to use the hopper ones for a few reasons, mostly because they can do the really fast unloading and loading, but also because we don't actually need that much space. Because one problem you could have with these is, let's say you've got a chest over here, and you're filling up your hopper, and you have like an entire chest full of stuff. This minecart's going to fill all the way up, and it's going to get stuck. We can actually simulate that pretty quickly. I just like put a bunch of items in here. This hopper is going to quickly fill up, and then it's going to stay there because this comparator will still be on. And we're going to have a problem where it just gets stuck, and we can't ever leave. So we need some way of dealing with this in systems where you get enough items that you could get this type of jamming, where nothing's unloading and we're still not getting anywhere. So that's what all this stuff is here for, and this does solve the problem, but quickly I'm going to talk about how I came up with this. So to do this, you need what's called a detector rail, these guys, because you need to be able to detect how much stuff is in the minecart. You could also probably use some form of timer, where after a certain amount of time the minecart gets allowed to leave, but I'm going to use a detector, and so this will give a signal of 15 if the minecart is completely full. But we don't want to leave when it's completely full, because that means a full stack in every spot. And let's say we have like 20 items in one spot and no more items of that in that chest, then it will stay there until those items show up, but they might not be able to show up because the chest is full. So really, I'm only going to have it leave when it's like 15% full, or like 40 to 60 items. I think it's 47 exactly, when this is a signal strength of 3, basically. So first thing to notice is if I do this, it's going to go up and down indefinitely. But if I put, say, stone bricks here, oh, infested. Oof, when did I use those? Uh-oh. Well, I'm going to probably tear all this stuff down anyways. I don't think I use those in here, but I'm going to set up a command block later and just remove all the infested stone bricks. That's just great. Oh, lovely. Anyways, so we put this, like, I think it was right here. So if we put one here, it can go through it this way, but it can't go back down. So it can go up, but get stuck on the way back down, which is perfect. However, if you'll notice, this detector rail is not on. Similarly, if we get stairs and we put them like this, it can still go up, but it still can't go down. And that's true with basically any block. There are 3 blocks I found that do work, however. So if we get a wall, an iron bar, those work, and a fence. Any fence should work. I don't believe fence gates worked. I've tried this. So if I get like a wall, it does the same thing where it gets stuck, but it should. Interesting, it's not actually powering this detector rail. Wonder what the difference is. Usually, if we do this scenario, it gets stuck on the detector rail. Maybe that's because I'm going up too high. Let's try this. Weird. Okay, hold up 1 second. Well, let's try these other things, but that is not a problem I'm used to, because I'm used to it working on the detector rail. Oh, okay, here's the problem. So, we're learning while we record this video. The detector rail is also curved down, which we can't have, apparently. So what we need to do is just have it on a flat ground. So if I grab myself another detector rail, and we need to put you back up. Perfect. So now if I grab my hopper minecart, and I'm going to grab another wall, this should work as intended. So yeah, it gets stuck, but it's also powering the detector rail. And the same thing should work with a wall. Yep, and it will also work with a fence. And I don't believe it works with any other block. There's probably like one of those end rod things that work. I might end up using walls, but I think it's because they're 1.5 blocks tall. Although fence iron bars work, and they're only 1 block tall. You can jump on these. Anyways, so basically the thing is that you need for this to work is you need to be able to get the minecart in a position where it's both on the powered rail so that when this moves, it leaves, and when it's on the detector so that you can figure out how many items are in it. So this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to use a wall here, and we're going to get a sticky piston in order to get this to move. So we're going to want it right here. Perfect. And then this sticky piston will be able to go up and down and move this out of the way to release the minecart. So I'm not going to build this here, but basically what I'm going to do is show you the results of it over here. So this is the nice system I built. It's got a typical unloader here. It does work when these are on top of chests, by the way. You don't need to worry about having the hopper straight down. Verify that real quick. It'll get stuck there. Perfect. But basically what happens is we have a comparator checking this hopper that goes up this row. When it has a signal strength of 1, it will signal this wire turns on the repeater, and it goes all the way up to this comparator and goes through the comparator to turn on this sticky piston. So when there's anything in this hopper, this sticky piston stays down, and then it goes back up when the hopper is empty. However, if we have too many items in here for the minecart to be able to deal with, what happens is that we've got this comparator on the detector rail here, and when it reaches a signal strength of 3, which I believe is something like 47 items, it goes up this chain, and it will turn on this wire and goes into the comparator. And since this strength is higher than this strength, it turns off this signal. So even if there's items in here, it doesn't allow the system to stay down. So we're going to watch this in a second here. It's going to go, and it's filling up, and then this turned it off. As you can see, that turned red for a second there. And we got about a stack of rails, and we still have a bunch in the system. Oh, and also since this doesn't fill the hopper very quickly, that also could be limiting our results here. You probably want to have a hopper on top of a hopper instead of a chest because those fill each other much faster. But let's look at this. So it fills up very quickly here, and it goes a little past because it takes some time to react. And that's how that works. One quick other thing to note is that, let's go back here. If we grab, are those infested? Yeah, okay, I'll deal with that later. If we grab this and it gets stuck here, you'll notice this isn't powered, but if I put, say, how do I put this where I want? If I put a hopper facing down here, let's get this going, we can see that it will fill up the minecart at high speed. However, if this is one of the blocks that actually works for us, while it will fill up the minecart, it works at a much slower speed for whatever reason. And it doesn't always fill it up. Maybe iron bars don't work. Let me get a wall. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's just not very reliable. So yeah, it is going out, but it's going out at the speed of like a chest minecart. So as a result, to fix that, what you need to do is actually have the hopper like here, where it's physically inside of the minecart. And that way when the minecart goes up, it fills up at the max speed we can get. That's because it's kind of on 2 blocks here, and for some reason that makes the hopper fill up the minecart hopper at a much slower speed than it would if this were a full block here and the minecart were actually fully onto this rail. So I made this, and I also made this one here, which does the exact same thing. It's a little bit different way of doing the wiring, but it's the same idea. We have the comparator off of this hopper going up here and going down to this comparator, which is also dealing with the detector from the hopper minecart. The reason I did this is because that one actually fits inside of my building. But you can arrange the wiring however you want. But that's basically how it works. These are very useful because they prevent overflow of the hoppers. They can't get stuck no matter how many items I put in here. Like I can just put an infinite number and they still won't get stuck, basically. When they fill up with too many items, they will leave the system. So now we're going to go check out this. I'm just going to show you what I built real quick and how it works. We're going to go to spectator mode, and you can see the system. So down here I've got like 3 different layers. Actually, we're going to go in creative first because walk up the stairs. So here's my entry chest. Put whatever I want in here, and it'll start going into the system. You can see I've got some minecarts going around with that detector rail system to bring it all to the sides, and then we've got one that goes all the way up to the next level. You can go up my stairs. You can actually get nice up and close and personal with the minecart. Nothing in it. And then we've got another layer. I would probably want to make this a little bit bigger because it's too compact. Everything's on top of each other right now, but it is what it is. Go over here, go up to the top, and yeah, I built a nice little pretty roof. I kind of like what I did here. Got a chandelier. But if we go into spectator mode, basically what's happening, let's go outside the building real quick, find the front. So if we go into this chest area, it goes into one of these long item streams that I did at the beginning of the video, which goes down here and sorts them. And if they aren't the item we want, it goes into this chest, gets through our minecart loader and unloader system. I had to do this little loopy pattern because there's not much space here. And this is the wiring I showed in the last example. And any items will go through here, but if this jams, the minecart will leave anyways if there's too many items there. And this just goes all the way around, goes over here. This one then goes all the way up to the next level, and we keep doing the same thing. Just the same pattern repeated over and over again. And then finally, you just have your chest with items like dark oak sapling that I'm not actually sorting in here. So yeah, that's basically how the system works. We got the standardized item loader that hopefully you learned how to make today. And we've got some minecart mechanics, which I've hopefully explained fairly well. I tried to do more than simply tell you how to build it, but also tell you how it works so that you can start making your own things, because that's at least how I like to learn redstone stuff from tutorials. But yeah, so like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Give me ideas. I'm going to make a ton more of these things, and I'll probably tear out all this stuff because I made it out of infested stone bricks. Whoops. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time.